Whatever the heck that means, right?
Hello, Irish fans. What an unbelievable game in Blacksburg, Virginia. Notre Dame prevails over Virginia Tech 32-29 on the strength of a Jonathan Doerer field goal from 48 yards out. I'm Greg Ladke. I am joined by Tim Hyde, our resident football coach. Tim, I mean, that was a wild game, right? You've got injuries, you've got quarterbacks going in and out. I mean, but let's focus on just the field goal and the lead up to that. What'd you think about that final play?
Yeah, nerve wracking. But it seems like the 2021 football season, correct?
Right.
Everything's going down to the last 30 seconds. No, it was an unbelievable moment. You get Cone, who's just been, let's be nice, right? He's been bad. He's
Right.
been bad lately. And then he just comes in the drive before, 7 plays, 75 yards, defense, boom, gets the ball right back to him. And there he goes. Nice, a couple big pass plays to Lindsey and then Takis, and then nice run by Kyron Williams.
Yep.
And you set up the field goal. I mean, unbelievable ending right there.
Yeah, I mean, to your point on Cone, comes in 75-yard TD drive, then he moves the ball 45 yards for that last field goal drive. What a credit to him. And they won tempo too. So, I mean, just your thoughts on that. I always thought in previous games, like, why don't they speed it up? Try to just get those defensive ends to lay off a little bit. The opposing DNs, they go tempo, and all of a sudden they get a lot of success with Cone.
Oh, without a doubt, they did that in the FS. I mean, just go back to the opening drives. The opening drives of Florida State Toledo, they're basically no huddle, tempo, move right down the field, touchdown, going. So then they get bogged down, 12 personnel. Try and run the ball. Cone's not a threat, and things start to get a little bit messy, which obviously has happened the last couple of weeks when he's been in there. But hey, I mean, fifth-year senior coming off the bench, the freshman and Tyler Buckner's making a billion plays out there, and then he starts to go back to the reason I keep saying, right? Why did they get Jack Cohn? I keep saying this. They got Jack Cohn because they need experience. Tyler Buckner, for as much as he did great, and obviously he made a few bad plays, no doubt about it, but Tyler Buckner's not played since 2019, people. So it's
Right.
like you still got to keep that in mind. But for Cone to sit there, for 3 quarters and then come in, rally, and boom, put the team on his back and go down there and get the W is just awesome.
Just had a question in our comments. Want to touch upon Drew Pine never went in the game. I think when Buckner got hurt, I think some Irish fans were wondering if that spark would come from Drew Pine. But your thoughts on that? And I just think it was interesting that Notre Dame played 2 quarterbacks, and neither of which were Drew Pine.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. That's extremely interesting, especially all week long. Notre Dame Nation, everyone's talking about Pine. Is it Pine? Is it Pine? Getting that, the way he's played when he's been in and things of that nature. And he didn't even get a snap tonight. So that was really interesting. But maybe that was a telltale by Brian Kelly this week when he said Buckner's going to get in. He basically said Buckner's going to get in. So when that was said, you kind of got the feeling that Cone was going to be the guy. It kind of led when he kept talking, when you go back to Brian Kelly's quotes, you read between the line and you're like, yeah, he's going to start Jack Cohn, which was interesting because we all assumed it would be Pine because of the spark he gave. But in reality, what they did with Buckner, they opened up the playbook and let him do a lot more things today is what they did.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, Jack Cohn, by the way, finishes 9 of 12 for 108 yards and that touchdown in the fourth quarter. It was the good and the bad with Tyler Buckner. Certainly during halftime, Notre Dame Nation, I even said it on our premium forum, the Tyler Buckner era has begun, and then a little bit of reality hit in the second half. What'd you think?
Yeah, the pick six, he throws the pick six and everyone's up in arms, going crazy and whatnot. But he's throwing a pick six to another freshman, Colsey, an absolute horrible route. I mean, just say what it was, horrible right. The guy barely touches him. He gets all off balance and boom, pick six right there. So, sometimes you tell the quarterback, throw it to the guy that you trust a little bit more. And even on that play, Takis is wide open for a quick first down dump. But, it's quick. When he's in, when Buckner's in, I know, you and I have talked this week, Greg, it's like when he's been in a few times, he's a ball of energy. The guy's,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at him, he's like, he's hyped, so hyped up, so fired up, and it's just energy. Like, give me the ball, I'm going to throw it right away. And he seems he seems to do that. The screen pass to Kyron Williams
Yeah.
is a thing of beauty. You sit there and you pause and you see the lineman. Kyron catches that, and he's running. He's running for 50 yards. I mean, he's gone.
Mhm.
So that was a little wild as Tyler Buckner he starts to get going. And it feels like they got to rein him in. Maybe that's why they do some of the double tights and they do some of the things they do. But
Mhm.
he is electric when he runs the ball. But it's hard to win Division One major big time football being a single wing quarterback. He's basically
Right.
Johnny Latner back there, right? It looks
Yeah.
like he's one of Frank Leahy's old quarterbacks.
He's I'm s- I didn't realize coming out of high school how strong he is in the lower body. I mean, he makes
Yeah.
yards after contact. He's got kind of this combination of being a slippery runner, but he's able to keep his balance when he's engaged with the tackler, and he seems to fall forward. So a gutty
But
performance.
he's fast.
Yeah,
He's
and he
fast.
yeah. It's
He's
worth also
really
noting
fast.
his second interception was thrown to Logan Diggs, another freshman.
Yeah.
There was a period of time in that third quarter was like, oh my God, they've got to play all these freshmen. This is not going well. Where they're in Blacksburg, Virginia. I mean, what a gritty victory! You got to feel great for Jack Cohn because the biggest thing he brings to the team right is his leadership, and that's what ended up prevailing.
Yes, I mean it looked like a scout team football team out there from spring football
Yeah.
is what it did at a couple times. I mean you had Styles out there, you had Colsey out there, you had Diggs out there, you had how about the O line? How about the O line? Not
Yes.
one sack after Cones basically walked into that second sack. Nothing the rest of the game, and that's Joe Alt, another freshman out there. You had Evans, another freshman at tight end. And obviously Buckner's a freshman. So I mean they're all over the place at times tonight. So those people talking about, well, let's go 8-4 and play all freshmen. Well, let's go 11-1 and play all freshmen. How's that? That's what it looked like
That
tonight.
sounds good to me. Um,
Exactly.
Drop your questions if you're watching on YouTube. We of course will love to have some super chats. We are for sale. We'll get your questions in there. Jim McCarthy already just said big win. Dropped us a super chat. Thank you very much, Jim.
If
Tim,
you
what did you
say
think about? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say something right there. I'm sorry about that, Greg, on the big win, which is just a comment on his super chat right there, without a doubt.
Yeah,
If they're 0-2 back to back weeks, 0-2, a bye, then you got USC. It's just a different feel. Now they're going into the bye. Now they got the energy. Now it's like, okay, let's go play our rival. Let's go play the guys we don't like, and and possibly get into, obviously a major bowl game with this football team with all the injuries, all the guys. Huge win. They even say the comment on that just real quick is there is no Michael Mayer.
right.
Cone. How about Drew Pine? For all of Drew Pine, all the him having success, who's been the outlet? Who's been the little security blanket? Michael
Yeah,
Mayer. There is none of that tonight.
yeah.
Tyler Buckner was like, "You're on your own, kid. Figure it out."
I'm going to get a little bit of grief from our readers because I wrote this week that if Notre Dame doesn't have Michael Mayer, I don't think they're going to
Oh,
win. But it's a
oh,
it's a great program win. I mean, you had
yes,
some
yes.
contributions from people. I wanted to segue into the offensive line because at first they started, by the way, Joe Alt, Zeke Correll, Patterson, Madden, and Lugg. Christophic ends up going in for Correll. Joe Alt struggles early on and then just kind of does a 180. I mean, ends up settling down in a rough environment.
It didn't even seem like the O line was ever mentioned after Cohn's second sack.
Yeah.
And that second sack, by the way, he just walks into Christophic's guy. He steps so far up in the pocket that he just runs into the sack. So that's that was even on Andrew on that one. But yeah, the O line, they kind of just didn't get mentioned. I thought they played extremely physical. There were some hard runs. Even some of those 3 yard runs were physical. But then what do? It's the old, body blow mentality. And then all of a sudden those turn into 6, those turn into 9, those get here and there and there. And they really, really expanded on some of those. I mean, the offensive line, what was the final stats? They must have had 160, maybe 170 yards rushing.
Notre Dame had 173 yards rushing. Their sack adjusted rush or average yards per rush was 4.5. That is the best they've had this year.
Oh,
They've
by
been
far,
in
by
twos and
far.
threes in other games. So a big improvement. In fact, that started going. It started slow, but by halftime, I think that number was at 4.2. So, um,
Gotcha.
yeah, it was definitely a good performance. Um, I just I can't believe it's just that field goal was unbelievable. it's
Well,
it's
it's a great Notre Dame. It was a
yeah,
great, exactly what you said, a program win, a Notre Dame win. Coach Kelly's had it seems like a ton of these and whatnot, and they were just gritty and just the injuries. I mean, yeah, going back to the O line real quick, went. Kristofic played every snap at left guard, so there
yeah,
was no Zeke Correll. Obviously, then Evans gets kicked out. Well, now you have two tight ends out, and Mayer and Evans. You have Carmody and Baker are both out.
right.
So either I don't know if they're out. I did see him in PAT. I saw Baker, I believe. So, but they just went. They're just like, hey, Joe Alt, we're going with you. So does
Yeah,
that parlay into him being the left tackle the rest of the season? Possibly. Chris Tyree. I see a gentleman here in the chat was Tyree injury. I think he had an 8 or 9 yard run early, and then
yeah.
we didn't see him again.
He
So he was on the sideline. He was on the
yes,
sideline, fully dressed.
yeah. We will probably get word from Coach Kelly and his presser, but Patrick Engel, our beat reporter at the stadium, said that Tyree was participating in huddles and stuff on the
Mhm.
sidelines and what was
Yeah,
around. So it didn't appear to be seriously hurt, but must have done
but
something.
his.
We don't know.
But real quick on his replacement, going back to a program win and another freshman. How about Logan Diggs? I mean, first time he's been on the field all season long, and he had a couple of really, really nice runs. So
Yeah.
kudos to him. I mean, he's a good looking football player.
Yeah, I was just about to mention. I mean, there were times where you had Diggs, Colsey before he got ejected, Mitchell Evans on the field. You had Joe Alt at left tackle. I mean, you're talking true freshman. You had Buckner in the
Yep.
game. I mean, that's really something to go into that environment and knowing that your best player on offense isn't playing and go out and pull the win. So,
It was awesome.
um,
It was
want to
awesome.
get your thoughts. I think obviously everyone's really happy with the win, and it's going to be an interesting discussion about quarterback going forward. But let's talk a little bit about the defense because I thought at times they struggled. They didn't tackle great at the cornerback spot, and some inability to get off the field on third down, I think, kept Virginia Tech in the football game.
Yeah, a few drives. I mean, I think a couple were penalties, but a few, and
Mhm.
they were just like some quick outs. And I think Bracy. I want to think when I was charting, and I know two, possibly three, were on him. It
Yep.
seemed like Tariq Bracy played an awful lot today, so maybe that was Lewis. Obviously, had a really bad game against Cincinnati, and I think Lewis gave up one early as well. But yeah, it just seemed like it was a little mix on the D. But obviously, you take away the touchdown, the pick six, they still gave up low twenties for there. And but go, I mean, you go, that's 2 straight weeks. Also, we were talking back to back weeks. You give up points before halftime. It's like, and they have the momentum. They had the momentum today after that
Yeah.
Buckner touchdown. You can't let Vod Tech can't throw the football. You can't let them drive straight down and get a nice field goal like that. So,
Right.
it just seemed like they played a little soft.
Um,
A fight.
unless you left your room to
Yes.
go have a celebratory beer, you may have missed on the telecast. Yeah, there was. I wouldn't call it a fight. There was a kind of a scuffle where both
Little
teams
scuffle.
were behind the end zone, near where it looked like Notre Dame fans were sitting. So,
Yeah. It
um,
looked like it looked like the players. I just saw it in the background real quick as I was getting my tie on for you. Is
yeah,
it looked like the guys were over there celebrating with their fans, and Vautech, wasn't too happy about that. Well, that's what happens when you win. You get to celebrate.
we'll put up a comment here. I love rankings talks because it's I've been involved with not necessarily recruiting rankings, but covering recruiting with video. Yeah, I mean Logan Diggs was awesome. There's no doubt about it. He looks like someone that, and the trust that they had in him right away. I mean, he ended up playing a lot, ended up carrying the ball a lot. Um, that was really something else. So
Well, that's going right back to what you're talking about, Greg. Is just some of these guys that we have not seen a lot of,
mm,
and they're like, "Hey, get ready. We're in Blacksburg. Go play." I
yeah,
mean, Diggs, obviously. I mean, Olds is one of the hardest places to play at. Buckner. Once he got going, they're like, "Okay, you're going to finish this game and roll from there." So it was just awesome to see a bunch of young guys. But yeah, Diggs was really impressive. Obviously,
yeah,
his high school film was very impressive. But I mean, he's got a burst. Once he gets going, you give that guy a few more carries as the season gets going, because everyone's assuming that Williams is going to leave after this year. After his third year here, I mean, Diggs looks like a guy that could step in immediately and play a ton of football for them next year.
Yeah, 6 carries for 29 yards, had a big catch too for 15 yards. Logan Diggs. Just some other observations from the stats. I mean, you mentioned earlier Braxton Burmeister. They only had 174 passing yards.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number was in the second half. It must have been really low because they were already well above 100, I think, at halftime. I
Yeah,
may be wrong.
it's one of those games maybe because you don't expect them to pass as much or to get some. I mean, Burmeister's not even 50%, but it just always seems like, man, they always got it when it was 3rd and 8. They get a 10-yard out.
Yeah.
They always seem to hit a few of those things, and that was Vontex. I mean, that's a tough football team. I
Yep.
mean, that is a very, very tough football team. Very fast on defense, and for Notre Dame to do what they did with so many guys out was just awesome. It was
Yep.
just awesome to watch, and especially going back to the O line. The O line, for as bad as was, man, they're going to go into this bye saying, "Hey, they could play some football."
I think that's the source of the excitement. This season for Notre Dame to me went from being something where it's like, oh God, they can't find a solution at quarterback. It's their offensive line is a mess now. Whether you go with whether I imagine they'll probably stay with Cone, but it's
Yeah,
exciting now to see what Buckner can do because we saw him play with an opened up package, and then you have the offensive line that was very competent after the first couple drives today, and you can't do anything about your schedule if you're Notre Dame, but the bye week is probably coming at a good time, and
perfect.
then you're looking at playing some struggling teams with USC and North Carolina coming in the next 2 weeks.
No, without a doubt. But going back to the reasonings, I thought Pine was going to start was we talked on the show on Friday. Just the few times he scrambles, you got to account for that. But when Buckner's in, you got to account for him. And
Mm-hmm.
on the zone, I mean, look at a couple of the zone reads that he kept, and he ripped off a 10-yard run. In the past, when Jack Cohn would just give that, the DNs do not respect Jack Cohn, and they were just teeing off. It was a constant 8-9 man front that Notre Dame was facing when Jack Cohn's in there on the run game. That's why sometimes it's best just to spread those guys out even more so. And that's another thing. Notre Dame has not really thrown the ball out of the spread a lot on
Right.
some of the zone read. Like a true RPO run out there, throw it on the run, which they could do obviously with Buckner and whatnot. But yeah, Buckner, I know we were chatting about the throwing motion. Yeah, he was definitely inaccurate on a few. There's a few guys that were open. It's like, oh, you just got to hit those things. But the pass to Austin for the touchdown, or the one to get down to the 4, was a beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
dime drop right into his lap.
I would be interested in going back and seeing he looked so comfortable attacking down the field in the first half when he
Yes.
came in, and then it just seemed like it was all taken away from him. I don't know if it was because of all of a sudden you're playing some freshmen or whatnot. It'll be interesting to kind of look back and see
Yeah.
what Virginia Tech did there.
No, exactly. I was going to say the same thing. I thought, because it's like, was that the only time? I mean, was that the only time they let him throw the ball down the field like that?
Hmm.
Was on that play. Everything else seemed to just be quick, short. Buckner could throw. I mean, that guy could throw far. So, I know I was sitting back during the game like, where's Brendan Lindsay? Where's Davis trying to get these guys down the seams or get Lindsay up top? Because
Right.
Buckner does not have a soft arm. I mean, as you could tell with some of those ones that were inaccurate over the middle. Now, I mean, I mean, he's throwing them 100 miles an hour. So, and they are spirals, they're not wobbly ducks. So he
Right.
does have an arm.
Yeah, I mean that throw you mentioned earlier to Kevin Austin was effortless, and he
Yeah.
gets rid of the ball so quick it doesn't look like he's trying to
Yes.
heave it. He's very comfortable throwing the ball 30, 40 yards down the field without looking like he's straining too much. I want to get your thoughts on the defense. JD Bertrand
Oh,
returns to his tackling ways, 10 tackles again in this game. So that I believe he started the season with 3 straight games of 10 tackles or more. But overall, just what do you think, particularly the linebackers? I thought they looked better today than the
I
last.
was. It's funny in my notes. I put that my Foskey is just. I mean, that guy's a stud. He's he's a stud. It's like I've heard. I know Goolsby's talked about it on the Sunday night show, and every time he talks about, I give him a high five, virtual high five. It's like let seven rush. you
Yeah,
know, let seven rush. You know what? And one of the big sacks tonight you had 7 and 9 together on the same side of the field.
right.
So you had your two speed rush ends together. I think that's sometimes something we haven't seen a lot of out of Notre Dame is a speed package, just full on, just get those guys out there. Bertrand, I thought was a stud. He had some. I mean, he looked like his old self. He didn't have to flex out, walk out like Cincinnati did a great job last week of coaching and putting him spots. I thought he played unbelievable, and 57's a stud. I mean, that guy's a
Yeah,
warrior out there playing, with the hurt arm that
yeah,
we heard about. He was down again, came back. But one of the hidden gems tonight, Heinisch, I thought 41 was a man child inside tonight.
yep.
He had first half, he must have had about 3 or 4 bull rush push stuffs that someone else made the tackle, but there's 41 just driving his guy back. I thought Kurt Heinisch was just a star tonight.
And I learned something about football rules tonight. I did not realize that the horse collar thing is only
Oh,
outside the tackles because
yeah.
otherwise he was definitely tackled by the horse. He was thrown by the horse collar.
Yeah, he was thrown, but yeah, I mean, not even counting that play, Heinisch was just. I mean, he was a stud. He
Yeah.
he really was a stud tonight.
Notre Dame had 7 tackles for loss, just officially 1 sack, the one from Foskey. But yeah, their
Mhm.
ability to get in the backfield was huge. A super chat from Alex, and just making an observation. This is interesting. ESPN had Virginia
Wow,
Tech with a 96.1 chance of winning with 3:55 left in the fourth.
wow,
I mean, you did
that's
feel like Jack Cohn was going to come in and lead a victory, and then to his credit, he does.
well. Should we give our good pal Mr. Mike Singer a
Yes.
YouTube live high five as he texted both you and I saying, "Watch, fellas, Cohen's going to lead him to victory." So hey, Mike did call it. I think he was more frustrated because he took the under tonight. He was saying so.
Yeah.
He had to get another rally on, but he did talk about Cohen and yeah. I mean, seriously, 96% chance of winning the game for Va Tech. That's Notre Dame coming right in there and just they stole that with
Yeah.
how many guys that were not in defense giving up points right before half, even a couple, one of the touchdown drives, they look just sloppy on D, as you mentioned earlier, and for them just to the rally is off. I mean, that's an unbelievable number. That's a pretty cool little stat right there.
Yeah. Speaking of, I presume Fighting Irish is talking about Cam Hart.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously people are gonna remember that third down play, the 3rd and 7, where he had the missed tackle, and I thought Hasselback, the color commentator,
yep.
probably got it right when he said maybe the worry about targeting and all that played into that. It just looked
Hmm.
awkward how he went into that.
I agree. I mean, as soon as he said it, it's like, yeah, I mean, that totally made sense where he was just kind of in that, in that neutral zone, so to speak, the DMZ right there. It's like, am I hitting this guy? Am I
Yeah,
getting a pick? What am I doing? He just looked trapped right there, But overall, I mean, Cam. Overall, I thought they rotated the corners a lot. I had to go back a few times, like, whoa, where's number 5? And they had Bracy out there quite a bit, so it seemed like they rotated those 3 guys. Even saw Hamilton on the sideline. The announcers talked about it. He was out
yeah,
just, I think it was only 2 plays, and he came right back in on a 3rd down. But they're giving him a little bit of breather, and that's something I know you mentioned that on Friday, and Coach Kelly talked about in his presser this week on just trying to give these guys just a little bit of a break here and there, which means those next man ins, those number 2s, those even number 3s in some cases. They played dime a ton tonight. They're 4-1-6.
yeah,
And I also noticed when they did the 4-1-6, as I call it, that's their dime, they had Bauer in. In past times when they've done the dime, it's been JD Bertrand. So maybe that was their thinking of getting Bertrand off the field to let him rest there. And I mean, Bauer plays with his hair on fire, so it's not like they're losing anything. But I kind of like that wrinkle from the coaching staff to put Bauer in, give JD a little bit of rest on third downs, and then he was right back in when they got the first down.
I'm looking around here just because I see in the chat people are mentioning Alabama lost, and I've got the TV on. They
They
didn't,
did.
dude.
They
They
did. I
did.
turned it off. I told you I turned it off. They scored. That guy uncovered in the end zone. A&M let him score, and so they came down and won. Wow.
Yeah, they're interviewing Jimbo Fisher on the TV. I didn't get a chance to see how it happened, but
Wow.
please drop us some super chats, or just you don't have to super chat. You can just ask some questions. We'll try to get to it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video; it helps us out a lot. We'll be doing this after every game this year. And Tim, I hope you're ready because we do know
We,
that the next two
yeah.
games are primetime games. How do you feel
Well,
about that?
not only primetime games. Let's kudos to ACC Network, man. They really, they want to get to those. They want to get those games over with, don't they? They don't have the NBC infomercials in between plays, so we'll definitely be doing some late nights after SC and NC because those two teams are going to throw the ball 45, 50 times. So we may be going on around 1 a.m.
Yeah, no kidding. John Fisher asked, why didn't Pine play? And I think that we're going to have to go back to why Cone was named the starter in the first place. I'm presuming it has to do with how Pine practices during the week, because you look at the performances during the games, previous to tonight, certainly felt like Drew Pine was the spark. So you're not going to get a clear answer from Notre Dame as to why he isn't playing, I don't think, but something I think's got to be happening during the practice week where the coaches, what do you think? They must be convinced Cone's the way to go.
I agree. We talked about this, you and I, on Friday. Like, okay, you got two quarterbacks. One of them is going to start. If you go with Cone, you're going to go with the experience. You're going to go with the guy that's been there, the guy that's has started every game now. So, they're going to do that, and that's probably what they did. And he shows up in practice. You read between the lines with Brian Kelly where he says, "I'll have Vatex watch film. They know who's going to start."
Right.
And you start hearing a few things coming out of practice on the boards and things of that nature. And, he started. I was a little stunned. I think a lot of people were really stunned. I think early in the week, you woke up Sunday and you started, reading about Notre Dame during the game week on Monday and whatnot. You just assume, wow, they're going to go with Pine. They're going to go with him. He's been the spark. And then as the week goes on, something must not click. And and then with Buckner, they're going to play him no matter what. If he's healthy, he's playing, so which means, is he the guy that's going to be there in Columbus, Ohio, game one next season? Is that who they're more comfortable with as they develop this offense more and more around him?
Yeah. And you know what? Like, as long as it didn't result in a loss, there's plenty to learn for Tyler Buckner with throwing a couple picks. And it was good to see Notre Dame expand the offensive package. And really, like, a lot I'm presuming there will be a lot of talk about Tyler Buckner. I hope it doesn't take too much away from what Jack Cohn accomplished tonight. He really does deserve a lot of credit. And to go in there, I thought Reese called, other than, I know you were a little miffed by just how they handled the field goal, like in the 3rd and 1 run. But I thought in the second half of the fourth quarter, going tempo, that was a good job by Reese.
That was just, the coach in me, when it's 2nd and 1, get the first down. Just get the first down. Don't try and be cute. Just get the first down. Williams just ripped off a 9-yard run. Boom, feed him again. Get the first down. Clock stops. Set the chains. Get the next play going. That was that type of thing. And and even with Buckner, it's like, is that, when they're throwing the ball, like, he Diggs on the one interception was the Diggs. The other interception was the Colsey. Is it, were those the reads? And the other thing on the interception, what was it? 3rd and 21. So it's not like it's 3rd and 3, and they're in the red, it's 3rd and 21. He threw a bad ball and whatnot. So I don't know. Do you expand? Do you just make it Austin? But at the end of the day, once again, you don't have the best tight end in college football. If Michael Mayer went out pro this year, he's top 15 draft pick.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Come on. He's a stud.
I'm still mad we didn't make him 5 stars. He was right in front of us.
Exactly.
For a week and was unbelievable. I think he was literally the highest ranked 4-star and like 30th overall. So, but
Well,
he's
that's that's funny. Real quick on recruiting because you're right. Because like his high school film, I think one service even had him maybe as the fourth or fifth tight end, and we're like,
yeah.
really? He was a man child in high
No,
school.
yeah. Him and Eric Gilbert, we're
Yeah.
going off the side here, but him and Eric Gilbert were both at the Army Bowl, now known as just the All American game that week, and I thought they were the two just best players there. I mean,
Yeah,
if
by
not
far.
top five players, I mean they were both
Yeah.
incredible. A couple of our viewers have pointed out, yes, Notre Dame does now hold the longest winning streak against unranked teams. So it's 36 now for Notre Dame. And I just think, Tim,
Wow.
I know you've been watching Notre Dame football.
Wow.
How
Long
often,
time.
during the kind of the end of the Holtz years through, I mean, fairly recently, we're talking about, oh, Notre Dame always plays down to its competition. Why do they let mediocre teams come into Notre Dame Stadium and beat them? Well,
Yeah.
that's something to Brian Kelly's credit and the program today that they've done a good job in eliminating is they beat who they're supposed to beat.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, just hate to pour salt in old wounds, but just go back to Holtz's last year. Was that the year they lost to Air Force? His last year?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was yeah. Was that D Dowis at quarterback who's running around like crazy? I think they lost an OT if I remember right. But
No, D. Dallas, I think, was at the end of the 80s
oh, okay, okay.
for,
Who's
for
the
Air
quarterback?
Force. Yeah.
Morgan. Was it Bo Morgan?
Yeah, I think it was Bo
Yeah,
Morgan.
Bo Morgan. Look at that, bringing out some old memory lane there. But no, you're right. And Brian Kelly has not done that. I mean, he is. They have not had a meltdown since 14. But
Yeah.
14 they had. It seemed like about 32 dudes on the injury list
Yeah.
in the 14 year when they lost to they lost to Vautech at home that year too, didn't they? And Northwestern. That was the
Uh,
famous Brian Kelly went for two instead of kicking a PAT and
I,
allowed Northwestern to get it.
I'd have to check. I believe that's right. But
Yeah,
to your point, like,
yeah.
um, and this year they've got a lot of injuries. We forget about Maris Leafau, who was hurt before the year, Paul Moala. This
Yeah,
is this is
Fisher.
probably their most unfortunate year with injuries dating back to that 2014 season. So it's just a
Yeah.
credit to the program, Notre Dame's program, that they're able to overcome that. I mean, could you imagine them 10 years ago not having their best player on offense on the road at Virginia Tech and being able to
I
win?
know.
And
Well,
having some turnovers too. I mean, they were highly penalized. Let's take a look at the
yeah, it seemed like they had a handful of just false starts. Maybe that's why they took Carell out. I think Carell had two penalties. Well, I think Carell had one of them when they were going for it on 4th and 1, and he just jumps. Kyron Williams is going to walk. That one on he's just going to walk in for a first down.
mm,
Yeah, what did they have in penalties? It seemed like they
seven
just
of
had
them.
a handful.
7 of them for 70 yards. They only had both teams had 2 turnovers, so that was a wash there. Even though Notre Dame,
Hmm.
I mean, Buckner threw a pick six, so that's a little bit more of an issue.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, 7. It wasn't the smartest Notre Dame football team today in terms of penalties. I mean, but you're in a loud environment. You're going to have some procedure stuff and whatnot. So,
a few procedure. I mean, the one on Christophic they called what blocking in the back. I mean, he just fell. They didn't even touch the guy.
oh yeah,
One
yeah.
of the ones at the end there on that was the one before the interception, I believe, with Buckner. So that was a little bit of a mess.
So Bama lose now is the Georgia will be number 1. Iowa, I presume, will be number 2.
Yeah.
College football is setting up for a lot of one-loss teams vying for the playoff spot. I mean, Cincinnati's still undefeated, and I think they'll be undefeated. So I know
So is
some.
that
Go ahead.
so is that I mean seriously, I mean Cincinnati's got Cupcakeville for the next, month plus. So they're going to be in the Final Four.
Hmm.
They are. I mean
Yeah,
they're just going to walk into it.
right. John Rockwell asked, just curious, does it look as though Mayer will be back next
Yeah.
week? Apparently, I mean, he was participating in some of the
Hmm.
game's warm-ups, and he was fully dressed, obviously. So I would think with the bye week that he was pretty close. I mean, it's not like,
Yeah.
I mean, he made the trip and was in pads.
Yeah. No. No. Exactly. I mean, it looked like with that injury that they're talking about, it's that upper groin, like a hip pointer type thing.
Hmm.
I think it was extremely smart of them to not play him because if that thing pops, he's out a month.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very smart. Just don't play him. We got to buy. Obviously, Notre Dame has an amazing medical staff that they're going to work on that. not each and every day and get him ready for USC. So, I think he'll be back. He'll be back. Very smart of them to rest coming into a bye.
Let's talk a little bit more about the offensive line, just because I thought that I mentioned earlier, like it brings a kind of a different level of excitement to the rest of the year. If indeed they've kind of calmed down and found some cohesion tonight, which I think they did.
Yeah.
Do you think, Coach Hyde, I'm gonna put you on the spot here a little bit, is 11-1 now a possibility, or something that you think is very realistic, given what you saw off the offensive line today?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, but it's gonna go back to the old corny coaching saying is 1 week at a time. But it is 1 week at a time. If you're gonna have Michael Mayer out 1 week, back the next week, yeah, it's one game at a time. But it's okay to have one game at a time now. Now that you have your bye, you get your regrouping going on, and it's all about your rival next.
Mhm.
Night game, crowd's going to be rocking. SC's coming to town. It's going to be awesome. So, boom, take care of business. Then at UNC. What is the schedule? I mean, I'm
Yeah,
literally focused. Well, I'm literally focused 1 week at a time. I just know
so
the next two.
they have a bye, and then they have
Mm-hmm.
home night games against USC, North Carolina. Then they have Navy. Then they have Virginia, Georgia Tech.
At Virginia. Virginia's on the road, right?
Virginia's on the road, Georgia
Okay.
Tech, and Stanford on the road. Stanford just looked very meh against Arizona State the other night.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. I think that was last night, right?
Last night,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's Friday night game. Yeah, I watched a little bit about that. But Tanner McGee, a quarterback, he's a Southern California guy
Yeah.
where I'm born and raised. He could play. He's good. He's a good quarterback.
He entered
But
the game statistically
yeah.
really, really good. I mean, they're just a big lumbering football team, and I just sometimes it's like,
Well, that's okay.
They don't
That's
get-
okay to have Stanford going back to the old Stanford days. I'm okay with that.
yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I mean, Notre Dame's probably they've got to be healthy the rest of the year too. I mean, they were stretched to the limits tonight with like we mentioned.
Oh, without a doubt. Oh, without a doubt. I know people have talked about the Virginia game, being tough because it's Virginia. I mean, Notre Dame handles business these next two night games. There's no reason why they can't be 11-1, and especially their only loss is going to be to a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
So, if someone gets another loss here and there, can they possibly be in the top four? Probably not. Probably not, because Notre Dame, you would have to assume the committee's not going to, put them in the top four at 11-1, which is fine. They had their shot. They didn't get it in the top 10 matchup. So be it, especially I don't think they have any ranked teams left. So if they handle business, whatever the pecking order is, I haven't even looked at it for the bowl games. So I couldn't even comment on, who has the pecking order for where's the Final Four at this year, by the way? It's something to look at. I'm just saying, is this a year Notre Dame could go to the Sugar Bowl? Is this the year Notre Dame could go to the Rose Bowl if they're not hosting one or whatever, which would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the Rose Bowl parade would be pretty cool. That's not something Notre Dame's ever gotten to do, but
close last year. So close last year.
I know. Yeah, I mean, exactly. They would have been if it was
Rose Bowl. Yeah, the Rose Bowl in Arlington, Texas, right?
yeah. Thanks for the super chat from Richard Malpe. Just want to say that just saying that fool's luck, Buckner got hurt. Cohn came in and Buckner made the defense forget how to play Cohn in the first place. That's a good way of looking at it. Some other people are just asking what happened to Cohn. People want to know, who do we think is going to start next week? It wasn't really clear on TV, but it looked like Cohn, didn't he sprain his ankle? He wasn't involved in contact at the time. It looked like he had thrown the ball.
Buckner.
Buckner, yeah. Buckner? Yeah, I mean.
It looked like he threw the pick and he jumped up like, oh, darn, and just, twisted it a little bit. I saw him walking, chatting with the Vautech guy afterwards, walking around. So,
he'll be fine.
I'm not playing doctor no more. I thought Cohn twisted his knee and everything and ended up being an ankle, and he's back in 5 days. So, who knows with that. But, the gentleman asked, why did Cohn come? People are asking, why did Cohn come out? Once again, no mojo.
Yeah.
Same as Wisconsin, same as Cincinnati. Nothing was going right. I think he had 3 series, 3 drives, couple punts, 2 sacks. Offense just looks, just blah, just plain. Nothing was happening for him whatsoever. So they went with Buckner, and all of a sudden, boom, touchdown. Let's get it going. So it was awesome to see that for Tyler Buckner.
Who do you
But
think?
if Buckner's healthy, but yeah, if Buckner's healthy, maybe you just keep doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
Maybe you just keep doing what you're doing, and do you go more tempo as you talked about at the beginning here, Greg? Going back to even some of the success Cone's had this year is when they do tempo, is when they just because he's experienced. The guy could read coverages, obviously. He could, he knows what he's looking at, and just go tempo and let him have some fun.
Yeah, he's certainly going to get credit for leading fourth quarter victories against Florida State and at Virginia Tech, 2 on the road.
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
gutsy, I mean, it's just funny how much criticism he's gotten, and it's not all his fault. I mean, when you have an offensive line that was in disarray, but when people distance themselves, Notre Dame fans distance themselves from the season a little bit, look back, some of the best memories will be the stuff Jack Cohn did at the end of those football games.
Yeah, well, to comment on that, I think some of the negativity on Cone is he's not one of them, meaning he wasn't recruited there. He hasn't been there for 4 years. He's a transfer. He's the outsider, that type of thing. I think that is a little bit of it. And it's like, oh, we recruited Buckner and Pine. Why aren't they playing? It just seems like that type of a little tone and whatnot. I look at it as, and I've said this 100 times. I was the awesome chat with a bunch of guys on the message board the other day where I did a post like, guys, you got to look at this realistically. Cone is there for a reason.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, Kelly Reese, the guys got together, and it's like, are we going to play Drew Pine, who's been here at spring ball, fall camp all season? We know what he is. Are we just going to hand him the football January 1st? Buckner, who hasn't played since 2019, he's
right.
been here, obviously. Well, he wasn't there until the spring. I'm talking like before Cone got there. So they're like Buckner, who has not taken a snap since 2019 at one of the smallest levels in the state of California,
Yep.
down there in La Jolla, San Diego area. They're like, we need a quarterback.
Right.
Plus, they need Clark has a bum knee. So they literally on January 1st, they had they had no quarterbacks.
Mhm.
So they had to go get a quarterback. And I don't know why people don't listen to that and see that reasoning and be like, that makes sense. They
Right.
needed a quarterback. And they went out and probably got the best quarterback in the transfer portal.
Yeah, you know what? And I didn't think that Tyler Buckner would play this year. I mean, I'm gonna be honest.
Mhm.
For one of the reasons you mentioned, I mean, two of the reasons is he played basically a season of football his last 3 years
Yeah.
in high school, and again, it was people see the California um, location as far as where he's from and assume that means he was playing like modern day level football, and that's
Mhm.
just not the case. And so
No.
I'm impressed with him, just the ability to come in and do what he did tonight. Clearly,
Oh, with that,
go ahead.
oh, without a doubt. No, I was going to say real quick, and that's the other thing, I mean, what did we have last year? COVID. I
Mhm.
mean, Tyler Buckner transferred, I believe, to Helix High School, which is one of the premier high schools in all of California,
Yeah,
down there in the San
down in
Diego
San
area.
Diego
So
area.
he was going to Helix, where Reggie Bush is from,
Yeah,
powerhouse, San Diego, Division I San Diego. He was transferring there to go play against, the big powers, the Torrey Pines and the, oh my gosh, Cathedral Catholic, the big San Diego power. He was going to be
yeah,
going against all those guys. And I think he was going to play a Trinity League school. But then COVID happens, and he's like, there is no guarantee of California football. Football didn't even happen until March. And he was like, I'm going to go to Notre Dame and just start, learning how to play football Notre Dame wise. So, had he had a season in the fall, maybe he would have been the guy right away.
yeah.
Who knows? Because he would have had that experience.
Jamie McNeil asked, Kelly needs to figure out who his quarterback will be next year before this season is over. Yes. The question is just
Yes.
how much you play him. I think the debate is, listen, I don't think Notre Dame's a playoff level team, but they're going to want to go 11-1 just to. I mean, who knows? I mean, we're 5 weeks into the college football season now, right? Maybe six, and almost everyone's. I think we
Mhm.
have 3 undefeated teams left. I mean, in terms of
Well,
teams that we think are playoff contenders. So you never know.
hey, you want to, if it, I mean, you never want to look ahead, but seriously, 11-1 means what? You're going to a major bowl. 11-1 means what? Recruiting.
Yep.
It keeps growing. That 11-1 means what? Was that 5 straight seasons of 10 plus wins. So yeah, I mean, you're just building, you're building, you're building. I mean, this has been since the Kelly 2.0, since the 2016 meltdown. Hard to believe 2016 ever happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, what a season about that. Thank God we didn't do these back then, huh?
Mr. Malpe, thank you for the super chat again. He brings up a couple points. The first one is big night for Kyron Williams because he was able to show again what makes him so special as a runner. Up to this point this season, I was like, he's the guy that fumbled against Toledo and nearly fumbled away one in another game, not coming to mind, but and just didn't have the chance to have those highlight level runs. He got a few of them tonight.
Oh, he's just physical. I mean, he's going to be a great NFL running back because he's just physical.
Mm.
He's physical.
Yeah.
He blocks. He does so many of the little things that, I mean, he looks like the perfect, Bill Belichick, New England Patriot, type of running back, or even when, the Saints have had those army of backs over the years, a guy you trust.
Yeah.
You trust, and you're going to go get yards. He's going to play special teams. He's going to grade out solid. He's a team captain, well loved there on campus and things of that nature. Coaches are going to chat with him and just be like, this guy's a ball of energy. How are you not going to want him in your locker room in the NFL? So, and then the comment right here, Kevin Austin can be as good as he wants to be.
Yeah.
Yes. But at the same time, Kevin Austin has not played any football since he's been at Notre Dame until this year. So he hasn't, right?
Right. And I think he's an academic senior. So, I mean, he's just had this long period of time where.
Yes. So you're like, you hope he comes back because he's had a couple tough games this year where he's gotten rerouted and beaten up by corners. And I look at it as, he hasn't played in 3 years. He's on, he's playing on the field now, so he's gaining experience. But he could be everything everyone thought he was when they recruited him to come here and be a dude.
Yep.
One of those really good, first round picks that Kelly's had at wide receiver.
What do you think about the catch, 2-point conversion catch he had? Do you think Jack Cohn was trying to throw it to him on that?
Oh yeah, well he's just throwing it up. He's scrambling. Jack Cohn in his 5'8", 40. If that's being nice, scrambling back there. Oh yeah, he threw it up. That's players got to make plays, and what a play he made! Seriously, what a play.
Hasselbeck said on the broadcast that he said that play took 30 minutes to unfold. It felt like
it
did.
It did, and for that to happen was it was awesome.
Lugg may have gotten away with. I thought watching that live, I thought I was going to see a penalty flag being thrown across the screen on Josh Lugg, but on the replay, I'm not sure if he tackled that guy really. I think he just kind of fell.
Hey, ref didn't call it, so right?
Yeah, we'll let that one slide. So.
Yeah, we'll let that one slide. You know what? There was a handful by the refs. I thought Kyle Hamilton blasted a guy out of bounds. They didn't call it.
Yeah,
there was a handful of those, and they went both ways. I thought Vatek, had a couple holes. Well, there's the touchdown, the last touchdown run by the quarterback for 17 yards. Go back and watch it. 95 MTA. The dude is bear hugging him.
Yeah.
Both hands are literally up into his jersey, just being held like crazy. No call. So sometimes they go, you give and take a little bit in those games. They even out in the long run.
Yeah, Burmeister, Virginia Tech's quarterback, can really run, and
yes,
I don't know if Notre Dame's defense just didn't expect him to get down the field that fast, but I don't think Notre Dame touched him on that touchdown run. That was a 3rd and 15 play too.
Yeah, no, he's fast. I mean, I was reading one of the reports where he's the fastest guy on their team. Someone said in their 40. I'm like, really? I mean, because Vatek is known for DBs and their linebackers and stuff of that nature. They have some really good football players on defense, but Burmeister could fly. That guy could run. Even the backup that came in, I thought he came in and provided them a little spark and whatnot. So, hey, they just beat a 3-1 football team in Blacksburg with, it seemed like a quarter of their, so many dudes on offense playing that were out, and freshmen and all these guys, and Buckner coming to life. Seriously, if Buckner doesn't come to life when they're down early, it was 10-0 that they were down. They had no mojo whatsoever, and he brought them back.
People, thanks for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. You can drop us some super chats. We'll get right to your question. Tim, Notre Dame's going to a bye week, so your background as a coach, watching Notre Dame tonight. Obviously, rest is going to be a big thing, and I know Notre Dame players are going into midterms and things of that nature. So, but what do you think the team needs to focus on over the next week before they get back into game week flow going into USC?
Uh, Rest. I
Yeah.
mean, rest. It's been a physical, it's been a grind. You've got, these games are going down to the last second. I mean, even the Wisconsin game, what was it, 10-10? The Purdue game was only a couple points into the fourth quarter. Every single game they've played has been a fourth quarter battle.
Hmm.
Even Cincinnati, they got it to 17-13. 17-13 before the defense, Ritter, went straight down the field. So every game has been a fourth quarter grind. So I don't see any, fourth quarter, let's play all the freshmen and, in the fourth quarter and rest guys. It just doesn't seem like that's just going to happen this year. That is, every game is just going to be get after it, play 60 minutes. And as long as you win by one, it's a W. So, but I think, the number one thing going in, let's just throw, I mean, quarterback's always the number one thing, but, it's the constant development of the offensive line.
Yep.
Is Alt going to be the guy moving forward at left tackle? It was Carmody and Baker, because Baker was cleared to play. So, but it comes down to how much did he have a lot of practice this week? But
Mm.
I'm telling you, Alt, he really hasn't done much bad for a guy that was playing tight end just a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago. Seriously. They took his red shirt off to play tight end, and now he's a starting left tackle. So who would have thought that?
And not to mention, he's from Minnesota. I'm not trying to rip high school football talent in Minnesota, but it's not. Mike Singer and I talk about this all the time. He's not playing in like Atlanta where you're going up against a lot of speed and you're playing against other kids who are Division I level often. So for Joe Alt to make the adjustment like he
Oh
has
yeah.
freshman, I think is unbelievable. I think, like I said last week, I think that kid's a freak.
Just to go back real quick on the old line, the sacks, the run game, all of these things. That goes back to a DC when Buckner's in there, or when Pine was in there a little bit. They were spying with him. You got a game. You got a game plan. You got to respect those guys. Is what you need to do. Because those quarterbacks can run. Oh, there's Mike
Yeah.
Nadel.
Mike Singer's never shy to let us know. His guys are Jack Cohn, right? Joe Alt, and
Joe.
I mean he started the Joe Alt fan club,
Oh, he loves Pine. Yeah, he's a big Pine guy
or he's
too. But
Pine. He's Pine.
yeah, he's a Pine. He's a Pine. No, hey, but Alt, it's funny. I was literally about ready to send him a text after that first sack, and I was like, let this even out. And then you just never heard about 76 the rest of the game.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
never saw 76 the rest of the game, meaning that's the ultimate compliment to an offensive lineman when you just don't ever get mentioned. You're playing good football.
Yeah. Yeah, Notre Dame's got a nice situation that they're building on the offensive line for years to come. Someone mentioned or asked way earlier in the show about an injury update on Blake Fisher. Notre Dame hasn't said definitively. I think the feeling is he could be. There's a chance he's out for the year, but we don't have
Yeah,
like he's
probably.
going to be back for this game type of answer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think originally when they said I think the original was like 6 weeks, but it's an MCL.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big dude. He's a
Yeah,
big guy. You don't want to rush that. He's an All-American NFL football player down there. I mean, he's that good. So there's no need to rush him, especially as this O line starting to develop, take shape. Does he come back for maybe the last game? Is he back for the bowl game?
yeah,
Because he's obviously going to play less than 4 games, so he does have a red shirt if that's ever needed way down the road. But maybe he's back for the bowl. Maybe they get him ready for that. So I mean, who knows? I mean, we're just throwing darts against the wall right now. But yeah, I think we could definitely think Fisher's going to be gone the rest of the year, and they're going to guys are getting a ton of experience. And then, I mean, who would have thought that Blake Fisher would be the least experienced lineman next year, right?
yeah. No kidding. It was expected he was going to be a starter pretty early in fall camp.
Exactly.
I think to Colonel Monocle's question, great game, but what questions were actually answered? I think there's going to be quarterback questions, but it's in a different nature now. It's not like we were desperate trying to find someone who can prove to be playing well. It's you just had Jack Cohn show a lot of, to use a Brian Kelly term, grit, be that
Yeah,
leader and lead that comeback win. We just saw what Tyler Buckner can do in an expanded package. So to me, the questions are about, we're getting a lot of Drew Pine questions still too, and let's not forget about him. But to me, it's questions about who's going to play. But now I think Notre Dame made themselves a little bit more difficult to prepare for um, if you're an
I
opposing
agree.
team, because now
No, I agree.
you have on tape
No,
Tyler
no.
Buckner doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just to, just reading the question here again, like what questions were actually answered. The first question was actually answered was, this is one tough football team.
Yeah,
Seriously, this is a tough, mentally tough football team. You got all these dudes are out. You have, I mean, I keep going back to Michael Mayer. They won a football game. I mean, seriously, if you would have told Notre Dame Nation on Monday, hey guys, you don't have Michael Mayer. Sorry, every time it's 3rd and 5, you're not going to get Michael Mayer, points.
right.
Okay, you're not going to. You do not have him. How many first downs has that guy caught? A ton.
Yeah,
All right, he is gonna win the Mackey Award. Is there a tight end even like in his category this year? No, he's a stud. I mean, just give him the award right now. So the biggest question that was answered was, number one, I thought Takis blocked better tonight.
hmm
He had some awesome blocks tonight. The other tight ends got in the game. I thought that, the other big question that got answered is they do have a number 2 running back. If Tyree or if Williams gets hurt, Logan Diggs,
yeah,
I thought played well. Another huge question was the offensive line
hmm
got better. The offensive line has gotten better. They just keep getting there. Even against Cincinnati, the second half they played solid as a group until that last series. Against that All American at Cincy last week and played his tail off until that, basically what the last 1 or 2 plays. Besides that, he was doing good. So when you look at it, what questions were answered, hey, this is a tough football team that's going to play its tails off, and they're not going to sit back and go 8-4 and just play young guys.
yeah.
I think that's a given.
Yeah, they're 4.5 yards per rush. Sack adjusted is their best of the year, I believe, and 173 yards rushing on the ground. That's not a monumental performance by any stretch, but certainly, Tim, as you mentioned, I mean, there's more push from the offensive line. You got to feel pretty good about the improvement. Well, guys, it's 12:22 Eastern AM. One more super chat. We'll fit this in. We just had one. We want to do one. How about this?
Was it?
Cone isn't successful in first quarter. Why not give Buckner the start? He can soften up the D line, wear them down, then Cone could pick them apart. That's kind of what happened a little bit at the end, but yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
it's like a little of the. Well, it's a little of the 2012 team, right?
Yeah,
With Golson and Tommy Reese. Golson played a little bit. Reese was what, the old pinch hitter, right? Reese would always come in and get the save
yeah,
and bail him out at times. So that's a great question. Is that something they do? Is Buckner the spark? Is Buckner the guy? Does Cone come in when Buckner's needs a blow or whatnot? It's a great question. It's
yeah,
something to look into. Or do you just keep doing what you're doing and just be like, we're going to play the vet? But how do you keep playing this is where my question is, can you constantly go 3, 4, 5 drives with nothing?
right.
I mean, even tonight you went 3 straight drives with nothing, and then Buckner came in and got the rally. Obviously the nice interception from Bracy got going as well. But I mean, you can't do that each and every single week.
Right.
Especially the next 2 games. I don't know how USC. I know they were down against Utah earlier, so I don't know
Mhm.
if you saw their score, but they got a quarterback. As much as UNC lost to Florida State today at home, UNC lost. Howell could still sling it. So you're still going to be playing some outstanding quarterbacks coming up here, but you can't waste drives, and that's going to be an interesting thing that they chat about, because what has Cone done in the last 3 games in the first half with Wisconsin, Cincy, and Vautech?
Yeah, it's been just
It
about
hasn't
nothing.
been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been good at all.
USC did lose to Utah 42-26. So,
I don't think SC's won a home game this year.
yeah,
I think
yeah, it's That's a whole
Oh.
nother. We could talk for an hour easily on
Well,
USC.
we're going to be here in 2 weeks from tonight, so we'll be here.
USC's woes, which are something else. But I think that's about it. Let's get to bed. I
Let's
gotta
get
get this
ready for
content up.
SC.
Yeah, we'll get ready. Notre Dame with a bye, and then they'll play USC at home at night. That should be fun. It will be the 5-1 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they'll be presumably a couple spots higher up in the polls too. So what a victory!
Yeah.
Jonathan Doerer, 48-yard field goal. Notre Dame 32, Virginia Tech 29. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
You
Or
got it.
excuse me, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yep.
SC.